if we feel like we're the superior race, that we know more than anything and anybody else, you'd be a fool. Because all those that came before us will far supersede anything we can ever understand or comprehend in today's world.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Human Blueprint. And on the Human Blueprint, I think we're going to be talking about aliens today.
One of my favorite topics.
Really? So what are we talking about since it's your favorite topic? Where do you want to begin?
So what's going on with Area 51?
You tell me.
Well, people are saying that they're going to storm Area 51. What are they thinking they're going to find there?
What do you think they're going to find there?
Maybe something that's hidden?
But even if they do find something they're hidden, what are they going to do with it? It's like if these guys can travel through space, you think they're not going to do anything?
I don't know.
Like
honestly,
I don't really know.
Let's set the record straight. Do you believe in them?
In aliens?
Yeah.
On this, yes. For the record, I believe in aliens.
I agree. I do believe in aliens.
So a lot of people don't even know that there's a gentleman. His name's Paul Hillier. He was the former Canadian Defense Minister. He was able to see all the documents that public is not allowed to see. He's able to know knowledge that the public does not know. He knows all the programs in conjunction with CIA, with NASA, with all of that. And he's written many books.
Are you going to share that with us today?
And so, guess who had a conversation with him a few years back?
Well, it's not me.
Not me. So that leaves by default.
So we had a conversation and we talked for the entire day. Now, remind you, this gentleman had the highest clearance, wrote many books, has many, many accounts of evidence and proof of what exists and what doesn't, right? So when we talked for about most of the day, he was taking notes because there's a lot of things that he understands, but he just couldn't necessarily put all the dots together. Mm-hmm. And so when we talked for the whole day, I was trying to do my very best and make the best attempt to connect those dots for him so that he can use his medium and his platform to make more people aware of what's actually out there, to make more people aware of what actually is being controlled, make people more aware of what's actually in front of their face that they don't even see. And so he mentioned that for a long time, they've always been here. Most people know that. But a lot of people don't realize to what degree. So I'll ask you, name something on this planet that you can think of off the top of your mind that you think is probably from maybe a different galaxy or probably from a different world.
Pyramids?
Stonehenge?
Okay, what else?
Easter Island?
What else?
I don't know. What else is there?
I'm sure there's some miraculous things. I just don't know about them.
So a lot of people talk of like Atlantis. A lot of people talk about all these different secret places in Antarctica, all these secret things in Colorado underneath the airport. So there's so many different things that people speculate on. But a lot of people, if they actually knew the truth, and let's be honest, we don't understand, we're not ready for that because we have now become the parasite of this planet. So, in fact, we're the actual alien. We're ruining a home that's perfect. We're ruining a home that was meant for generations upon generations. We're ruining a home that has all the resources that we could possibly have. But we do it at the expense so that we feel that there are things that we want more of or things that we don't have to pay a price for. But everything we use, we have to learn to replace or restore. So logos. Why do certain logos have certain type of symbolism? Do you know why?
I don't know exactly why,
They're
but
easy to identify. You can tell a whole story through this a picture.
And they're not in books, right? They're carved in stone.
Mm-hmm.
So how come humans who claim they're so bright and so smart, they don't even understand what came before us?
Because maybe we can't understand those logos, and we don't.
Or it's not as convenient, and it's not as we get so distracted with all these other things.
But you see, everything around you is meant to distract you from actually knowing your true essence, where you come from, where you go. This is what we talk about too in a very advanced stage with a lot of my personal clients that want to know more and more, because a lot of them are told one thing and they don't know how to connect the dots. A lot of them read certain things, they don't know how to connect the dots. So we have to connect those dots for them, because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of things on this planet were given to us by a higher form, of life.
And we abuse it.
And we've abused it. We've become the parasite, taken it for granted. And for what? Who wins?
Temporary satisfaction.
And you see, we no longer clue in to the clues that are all around us, that those that came before us, that have given messages for us to receive, for us to understand, for us to learn what to do to get to where we're supposed to be.
It's sort of like a parent that spoils a child, and then after you're kind of disappointed.
Why didn't it turn out what you wanted it to be? Right?
But you need this well. Is this like human nature to abuse things?
But you see, it's not human nature. Human nature is not meant to abuse things. Human nature is always meant to care for things. If it was meant to abuse, you would see a baby and you want to hurt it. If it was meant to abuse things, you see a brand new baby bunny and you'd want to hurt it. But instead, what do? We nurture, we care. So it shows that it's not your nature. It just shows that it was learned. And so for us, we have to stop being so parasitic. Get rid of those distractions so that we can learn to see the clues that are around us, that those that came before us, that gave clues for us to gain back the same wisdom that we all once came from. I've tapped into a lot of that.
And the people are storming Area 51 are expecting that?
They're not going to get it that way. They're not going to get it that way. So what happens when you do something by force?
Force is going to come back.
Just like physics, everything that has an action has an opposite and equal reaction. So if you did something by force without thinking twice, and your actions were like, we're just going to do this, there's always going to be a price to be paid later on. So you want to make sure that if you're going to do something, it's never by force, that it's by a mutual understanding. And how can we have a mutual understanding when we as a species have clearly shown that we have not elevated our intelligence, elevated our wisdom, elevated our consciousness? So how can we communicate to a higher being? How can we communicate to higher beings? Do you understand that part?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, let's say you go here and then you went to Bali. It's a different world, right? The number one thing people say is like when they go from one country to the next, it's like I went into a different world. Well, that's almost as if like you are going into a completely, how do we say, paradigm. You're going to a completely different area that is not normal to you. And so it's like you're transported. So even though the plane, physically you took it, but the soul was transported to a different part of the planet to experience a whole different environment. And so it's almost like a portal that way. And that's why people say to travel, because you want to get used to all the different cultures. You want to understand them. You want to understand them so you can figure out how to help them. Mm-hmm. You want to help them to become the best who they are so that they can contribute something greater to the world. Then when they contribute something greater to the world, then you build what we call an army. You build the trust. You build people who now learn how to think for themselves and do for themselves. But so many people who are impoverished, what happens? What's their mindset like? How do they act?
Survival.
A lot of fear.
What else other than fear?
They're just trying to survive.
They have accepted that that is their world. That's the worst thing you can do. That's why we have to always be able to, if we're in a more fortunate position, help someone shift their world. Elevate them.
I don't think people travel with that purpose, though,
no, they
or
do
intention.
Not. It's just for a selfie.
Travel for
Yes.
leisure. Exactly.
Yes, it's for the selfie.
Travel for Instagram.
And let's be honest, it's like this. let's give a perfect example. So we all like basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
All three of us,
Yeah.
right? So who's your favorite player of all time?
Steph. Well, all time. I like Steph Curry.
Okay, so let's use that. Who's yours?
Honestly, don't think I have a favorite player.
Pick one.
But
Pick one.
I love Russell Westbrook.
So he's just traded.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use this as an example. Both of those guys play with what? That the average guy who just comes out from university doesn't have. What do they have?
Heart.
Experience.
Heart. They can shoot the same way. They can practice the same way. They can drill the same way. They can get the same type of coach. But if they don't have the attunement to what it is known as greatness, they will never be able to achieve it. That's why they win the championships. That's why they're in the position to win championships. But when you look at the average person in today's world, they're on social media, they think it's so easy that they get into the league, they get the contract, they can relax. That's when the game just began. Because now you have to elevate to understand what it takes to play at that speed, what it takes to make split-second decisions, what it takes to maintain that consistency. And so you can say an athlete's an alien. You can say maybe your parents were because of what they did for you. You can say maybe the average person who has a gift and they share it to the world, you can say that's an alien because they're different. But we have to stop alienating people just because they're different. And the problem that we have in today's world is everyone feels that they need to feel superior to alienate someone so that it can boost their ego. And that's called bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And what we need to learn to do is understand that we are all different. We have all our own talents, our own skills, gifts. That makes us unique. It doesn't mean that I'm better than him or you're better than him. It just means we have to learn to use those same skills and talents that make us unique and understand that we all have to come together and unify, because your strengths may be his weakness. His strengths may be your weakness. And at the end of the day, it's like this cup of water. Do you see every single drop in here say, I'm better than you, you're better than me, you're wetter than me, I'm drier than you?
Mm-mm.
But it unifies and it creates the bond so that it can overcome anything. So for us, we have to understand, if we want to overcome anything, we have to learn to unify like this and stop feeling like, you know what, you're water, but you know what, I'm a coffee. You know what, you're a coffee, but I'm a tea. You know what I mean? You have to stop differentiating and segregating everything, because all those things are made to alienate you. And once you've become alienated, then people no longer have a purpose. And you no longer have a purpose, you're stuck. And then you're stuck, what happens? You just go through the motions. And that's the biggest problem in pro sports. As soon as they get paid, they just go through the motions, right?
Everyone does well in the contract year.
See? But what happens is the real champion, it doesn't matter what year it is. They're given their best no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something you don't see every day. And those are the ones that make the biggest impact. Right? Do you think that they're afraid to stand out? Because if you don't stand out, you're not going to be unique. You're not going to be valued. You're not going to get the max contract. You're not going to get compensated. So for us, we have to learn to stand out in the right ways and stop alienating people in the wrong ways. Because not until we learn to unify are we ever going to do something as a species.
Well, can I ask a question? Why do humans always look for why they're different than somebody else? Or why do they always alienate themselves?
So each one is a different answer. So for instance, let's say you talk to a girl that doesn't have a lot of friends. Then maybe she alienates herself because maybe the way she grew up, she didn't have the confidence or good self-image, because that's what she was ingrained at home. Whereas maybe you don't have the friends, maybe because you blew them all away, or maybe you thought you were too good for them, right? So it all differentiates on the environment where we're growing up in, but also where we are at now. So you have to be very cautious that when we are in that stage of growing, think of it like a plant. If it doesn't get enough light, doesn't get enough water, doesn't get enough air, does not get enough of the nutrition in the soil, if the soil isn't tilled and properly irrigated, it will never survive. But yet, humans feel As soon as they're born, that they have this entitlement that, I can get this, mommy, daddy will get me that. Or you know what? I'll take this because it belongs to them, but it's easy just to take. And so no one has any loyalty anymore in this world because their upbringing is broken. And so that's why so many people will cheat, lie, steal, hurt, step on, because they feel like that's what they were ingrained to do, to get ahead in life. But you don't realize is when we help other people unify and get ahead, what's going to happen is you're going to have so much more people now supporting you in your cause, supporting you in what you're trying to do, what you're aiming for. But so many people feel they can do it themselves, and they call that the entrepreneur. I like to see an entrepreneur do everything themselves, 9 to 5, 24/7, 365, without hiring one employee.
They'll never scale that way.
See? So that's why we have to unify. But if we alienate everybody and there's no one that's going to help us, how would we ever utilize those skills, utilize that uniqueness, and scale it the right way?
So anyone who's planning on storming Area 51, just work on yourself instead.
You won't even get within 1,000 feet. It has the highest security because of the secrets and certain things they don't feel the public is ready to know or hear. And when I talked to Paul, he felt that there were certain things that was hidden from the public that he thought should be more open or more open dialogue. So that's why he wrote a lot of his books. But a lot of people who are in that space will always try to shut him down or cut him down or say that, he's lost his mind. But this guy has actual genuine sources. He's actually spoken to the people that are in his book. He's actually gotten account of what those people experienced and felt and saw. And what you'll start realizing now is if you do your own research, and I'm talking real research, not on the internet, go to the places that have the highest amount of sightings of things in the sky that cannot be explained. Go to that area. Ask the actual people that have seen it. Have them describe to you what it was. Have them describe to you what happened when it was going on. Why did they show up? Then you look at the calendar. Then you look at what's going on in that area. Then you look at the corruptness. Then you look at what they're trying to bring. Then you look at what they're trying to do. Then you can start to see that there's always a purpose for everything. Nothing happens by chance. And do you know in Canada, we have quite a few of those sightings.
So I have a question. So if a species or extraterrestrials is coming here, they obviously have a next level of intelligence to be able to travel here. So would it always be that they're coming with good intent to help with the direction that we're heading in?
It depends on where they come from. Have you heard of, in France, there's a place called CERN?
Yes.
CERN? Do you know what they do?
No.
Do you know what they do?
It's the hydrogen collider.
Do you know what that does?
Publicly or the real reason?
Real reason.
No.
Okay, so publicly.
Publicly, it was just trying to, basically smashing atoms to get to the, smaller atoms or something.
Yes, but what they were actually doing, and you can do your research on this. Look at how they built the machine. Look at how they purposely put it on the ley line. Look at how they purposely put it so that when all the streets to exactly how it was exactly like in the past when they would open a portal to bring something from another dimension into this one.
It's like a Stargate.
And then why did they use a very specific frequency? Because certain things are attuned to that frequency. So when you open up to that specific frequency, you invite certain things from another dimension into this one.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds too safe.
It is not. And if you do your research, don't take my word for it. Do your research. A lot of people left because the things they saw, but they cannot say. And think of it this way. If we feel like we're the superior race, that we know more than anything and anybody else, you'd be a fool. because all those that came before us will far supersede anything we can ever understand or comprehend in today's world. I speak to quite a few people who have seen, encountered, experienced.
So how did we get from there to where we're at now?
What do you mean from there?
So as in from a very advanced level of consciousness and etc. to get to the point where we're so distracted.
So the powers that be don't want any competition. That's why when you look at specific big families, they've always been aligned with these types of races before. And when they make a deal, they're able to get things.
So I guess in the sense, if everybody realizes that we're all equal, everyone can accept everyone, it shifts the level of power.
Of course, we take it back. There's nothing that segregates, divides.
Because we will outnumber all of them.
Exactly that. And here's the thing. They just do not want to follow good leadership. Whenever people come together, the biggest problem, they always feel their voice should be the leader.
Mm-hmm.
So everything crumbles. They feel like I know more than you. Everything crumbles. They bank off of that. Because we no longer know how to unify. But yet when you look at nature, it knows exactly when it needs to be spring, when it needs to be fall. Why doesn't it say, you know what? I don't feel like I got paid enough this year, so I'm not going to have spring. You know what? I don't feel like I got enough attention, so we're not going to go through fall. I need more attention, so I need to keep my beauty. Why does it not do that?
If it did, we'd be dead. It's like, imagine if the sun had emotions. That's what I feel like shining today.
And it's 44 today? So that's pretty hot. So that's why we have to make sure that if we're going to continue this conversation, and if we're going to expand so that we can continue to elevate our consciousness, we cannot be afraid of things we do not understand. We cannot be afraid of the unknown. We have to learn to embrace it so that we can get back to our source, get back to that wisdom, that knowledge that's always been there in all of us. Just we've never tapped into it.
Mm-hmm.
We've never ever tapped into it to utilize it to make a difference. And when we help people with their gifts and we go over things, this is one of the things we do, is to make sure that that person knows who they are inside and out. So that when we tap into that, they're able to maximize the results, maximize what they do with their time, so that they have more to offer to this world.
And less selfies.
So before we wrap up, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
But if you're enjoying this, just give it a like, give it a subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And then I wanted to ask you, though, I think the source of information is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you're opening yourself to new information, you don't necessarily know if it's true or not, and you can get caught up in conspiracies. So do you have any tips for people to not get lost in those?
So let me ask you a question. When you hear of the word divinity, what do you think?
Like truth and alignment?
Something higher, like a higher level, higher being.
Okay. And what do you do with it? What do you do with divinity?
Appreciate it.
Utilize it. Don't take it for granted.
So a lot of people don't understand divinity at its essence or its core. So divinity is when you are able to realize all your past lives. You're able to realize what your future will become if those things have not been changed. Divinity is when you're able to communicate with all of your ancestors, figure out where they went wrong, figure out what you need to do with this life to graduate so that you don't have to repeat the same mistakes that is necessarily imprinted in your blood. And so divinity is the ability to tap into the source where all those mistakes blocked it. Divinity is when you unblock all these obstacles and you're able to tap into that again, then you do something with it. But so many people claim they are shaman, healer, psychics. Another name? What's another name? Special, right?
Yeah.
So many people claim they have these things, right? But what they don't realize is they don't have the divinity. They basically pay a price every single time to access something that they would never have access to at the expense of their soul. That's why when you look at a lot of those people that we just described, they look old.
Generally, they're sick.
They're sick. What else?
Poor health.
Poor health. What else?
Poor wealth.
They're never happy because they don't understand the price they pay, but they're willing to pay it because they see something they want. It's dangled candy in front of you. And what you don't realize is what you're selling your soul to is the actual demon that replaces you. Have you ever seen somebody? They go somewhere, they hang around a different set of people, they start acting a different way, they travel to the other side of the world, and then all of a sudden they become a different person?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is? Do you think that that's the same person?
I think it's the same person, just with different influences.
Do you think that's the same person?
It's almost like something else is controlling them.
And that's what people don't understand is there are things that our eyes cannot see and that your mind will never be able to understand. But these are the things that have always been here. Just because science only wants to focus on the materialistic side of things doesn't mean that it does not exist. For instance, CERN, you can't see the things that they're bringing over here, but yet they know how to bring it. You cannot see the oxygen you breathe, but yet you need it. So there's so many things that happen in life that so many people have turned their backs on because they've lost that essence. Because they only want to live in a materialistic world where materialism is the highest so-called trophy. When in fact it is the unmaterialism that should be the trophy. Because we can't take anything of these with us wherever we go. Wherever we go after this life, we can never take it. But all your actions, all your debts, all the people you've harmed, all the things you've done, you will take that with you.
Yet we spend so much time and effort gathering these things.
And how much value do they have when you go to a garage sale and you see people who don't even want $5 for something that they paid $200 for?
It's pretty much garbage.
See? So, but you were marketed.
Mm-hmm.
And marketing told you that it was worth $200. Right? When in fact you just needed to have the resources but use it for something greater. That's called an investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in business, you want to have as many investments growing so that the money works harder for you than you work for money. But everyone doesn't understand this concept. They think I'm going to get a little bit, it's already spent. They get a little bit, credit card.
Or when they make a little bit more, they buy more expensive things.
Correct. That they'll be very difficult to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Because the debt has accumulated to a very high degree. To the point that the government switched the interest rates and how you borrow money now.
They're practically giving it away.
See? They want you to take more debt. Why? So you can alienate yourself in all the bad ways. Mm-hmm. And then you'll never unify again. That's what debt does to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any other questions? I think we covered a lot. That went...
I mean, again, just work on yourself is probably the key thing instead of looking for aliens.
Yeah. You want to look for an alien, look in the mirror. That's something you have to get comfortable with first, within your skin. Until you learn to embrace that, it will be very, very difficult for you to master anything else in life. That self-image, so many people have lost careers, lost jobs, lost family, relationships before they even started. Just because of self-image. Because they don't like what they see. They don't feel comfortable enough in their own skin. So we become alienated. So we have to stop using it for the wrong reasons and start focusing on those talents. Make the right choices to put the skills to support that talent. Then we create the plan to utilize how we're going to enact that talent. That's what we do.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, let's keep the discussion going.
In the comments
below, let us know your thoughts. Do you believe in aliens? And, what can you take away from this to really apply and make your life better?
And remember, don't storm Area 51.
You may not be found after.
Just be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.